journey through the wilderness had been long. Day after day, the people of Israel moved across the dry and empty land. The scorching sun burned above them. Dust rose beneath their feet, and after years of wandering, the Israelites came to the wilderness of Zin. There, they settled at Kadesh. But soon, a terrible problem arose. There was no water. No water for the people, no water for their children, and no water for their livestock. Under the burning desert sun, fear quickly turned into anger. Once again, the people gathered against Moses and Aaron. Their voices grew louder. Their faces were filled with frustration. "Why have you brought us into this wilderness? Did you bring us here to die, along with our livestock?" They looked around at the dry, barren land. "This is a terrible place. There is no grain here, no figs, no vines, no pomegranates, and there is not even water to drink." The crowd became restless. Moses stood before them, listening to their angry words. For years he had carried the burden of leading these people. He had seen their fear, their doubt, their rebellion. Again and again, Moses and Aaron turned away from the angry crowd. They went to the entrance of the tent of meeting. There, before the Lord, they fell face down, and suddenly the glory of the Lord appeared to them. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Take your staff. Gather the people together, you and Aaron." Then came a clear command. "Speak to the rock before their eyes, and it will pour out its water." The Lord had not told Moses to strike the rock. He had told him to speak to it. Moses took the staff from before the Lord. Then he and Aaron gathered the people in front of the rock. Thousands watched. The desert was silent. Moses stood before the crowd. But inside him, years of frustration had reached a breaking point. He looked at the people who had complained again and again. Then Moses raised his voice. "Listen, you rebels. Must we bring you water out of this rock?" Moses lifted his staff, and in his anger, he struck the rock once. Then he struck it again. Suddenly, water burst from the rock. A powerful stream rushed across the dry ground. The people stared in amazement. Children ran towards the flowing water. Men and women knelt and drank. The livestock gathered around the streams. In the middle of the barren wilderness, there was water. Plenty of water. The people drank until their thirst was gone. The miracle had happened. But something was wrong. God had commanded Moses to speak to the rock. Instead, Moses had struck it twice. And before all the people, Moses and Aaron had failed to honor the Lord as holy. Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron. His words carried a terrible consequence. "Because you did not trust in me enough to honor me as holy in the sight of the Israelites, you will not bring this people into the land I give them." Moses stood silently. For years, he had led Israel through the wilderness. He had stood before Pharaoh. He had watched the sea divide. He had climbed Mount Sinai. He had carried God's commandments. He had prayed for the people when they rebelled. And now, because of this moment of disobedience, Moses would not lead them into the promised land. The water continued to flow. The people continued to drink. But for Moses, everything had changed. That place became known as the waters of Meribah, the waters where the Israelites quarreled with the Lord, and where the Lord showed his holiness among them. The story of Meribah reminds us of a powerful truth. Even a faithful servant can fall when anger takes control. God's instructions are not ours to change. And obedience matters, even in moments of frustration. Moses struck the rock. The water flowed. The people were saved from thirst. But one moment of anger changed the final chapter of his journey, and the road to the promised land continued.